so sorry that my partner went to surgery, and it's serious. It's serious. He might be paralyzed permanently if things don't go right. So I had to, I'm in crisis because he's several surgeries and he's a Scorpio. He's still a jerk, you know. But he's scared. He's scared, and the Scorpio nature isn't tamed by fear. It just makes them more ruthless. They abuse those around them, and being with my partner 10 years, with this viciousness of the Scorpio nature, I'm that nigga, you know. I don't forgive whether you're scared because you're going to probably die in the operating table. I don't care whether you are nervous, human maltreatment should not be deserved on any level. That to me is weakness. Emotional battering just because you can't handle your shit. Well, so I'm dealing with that. There was so much drama happening in my personal life. Ooh, but I'm that nigga. I handle my shit. And anybody else who I step to. I'm Virgo, but I'm really an Aries to my heart. I really am Aries to my heart. I don't know what the Virgo fits in. Thank you, everybody, for your donations. I didn't get much donations. I didn't get any, actually, which is why I've been absent from the air. You all know how that goes. So, finally, someone gave a nice, hefty sum. So now I'm able to go and do the transaction of the information, right? I'm Virgo. It's got to be tick for tack. Come on now. You know I'm a hustler. And what I got to offer, and you're going to find nowhere else. You got to pay for that. So, I'm keeping it real. But look, now I'm going to have my pineapple margarita with some turmeric and ginger. My cough is gone. The is gone. And of course, this is Ismael Rivera. Ismael Rivera. Again, from Puerto Rico. I'm telling you, that fucking island in Puerto Rico. Don't get me started. Don't get me started. Oh, but let me have this delicious pineapple margarita. Just delicious. 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 Okay. Well, I got something for you guys today. We're going to continue with the ascendant, dealing with the movers and shakers of the zodiac, the cardinal signs, Aries, Libra, Cancer, and the devil, Capricorn. The four cardinal points of the earth. All right. Let's jump right in. I made some sketches for you guys. So I'm going to go into the sketches to really simplify, because I don't want you to think that this is bullshit and charlatanism. There is a science behind astrology, and it's going to take an astrologer to break it down. One that has a background in cosmology. Okay? So, the bee. Let's jump in. Okay. Uh-huh. 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 I think I left off with the ego and the super ego, and I mentioned that your ascendant, the rising sign, on the eastern horizon of the time of your birth is a major influence in the formation of your personality. It shows, among other things, how you appreciate to not appreciate, but how you appear to other people, your first child, your income, etc. It is interesting to touch on the astrology's rationale for existence and rising and the ascendant. That I mentioned that we left off on that. Okay. So let me because the rest of the stuff is mathematical. And I do have my website because I'm reading from my website. Sun, sign, ascendant combinations. I'm reading the scientific part. I'm not reading the ascendant to you from my website because you can do that yourself, right? And even though I didn't complete, I will read other stuff that's not on my website concerning the ascendant. Okay, so we are going to start, and we're going to do some diagrams. Okay, here, here we see the Earth. All right, let me see if I can follow this right. Here we see the Earth, and this here is the equator, right? And it is the platform on Earth, right? Like they call it the flat Earth. Okay, right here we have the rising sign, right? We have the rising sign, and on the other side we have the descendant sign. This is one polarity. The word pole, like a pole dancing, pole, right? Pole, right? Polarity. I can't see, polarity. Okay, all right. Here we have the Earth, and we have the platform where the continents when things happen. Now you see here where there's an intersection. Well, first we have the I put the West here because this is an explanation of of astrology concerning Western mathematics and our Western philosophy and our Western interpretation of our Earth. You know that the four cardinal points represent the seasons. Okay, so we have Cancer, we got Capricorn, Aries, and Libra. Okay, now those are the four cardinal points. All right, so hold on one second. Hold on one second. I don't like this one. So let us go. I always got to find something a little bit more spicy. Okay. Let me go with what I enjoy best. All right. All right. All right. All right. Here we go. Uh huh. Okay. Now, that's diagram A. I just made it very simple. Then, here, here we have the zodiac belt. And all of these that you see here, all of these that you see here are the constellations, Aries, Taurus, all the way onto Pisces. So I drew you the zodiac belt. These are the constellations, as you can see them, right? Okay, you see that? These are all the constellations. They're in a circle, right? Now, in diagram C, here we go. Let me do this better. Here we have the constellations, right? A closer look at the constellations, right? They go all around, right? And then in the middle, we have the Earth, right? We got the Earth. And again, we have the 4 cardinal points: Aries, Libra, Capricorn, Cancer. These are called the 4 cardinal points. These are the spokes that hold the zodiac together, like a wheel, like a spokes in a wheel. Okay? As the earth rotates, it points to the different constellations as the earth rotates on its axis and moves around the ecliptic of the sun. There's 2 circular movements going on. This is moving on its own. The earth is moving on its own axis along with the moon, right? We call that a tectonic movement. The earth and the moon are moved together like a binary movement. And then they move around the sun's ecliptical path where we find the zodiac belt. And here you have the constellations, all 12 of them, right? Oh, God, that's delicious. I'm telling you. Now, we have something that we call tropical time and sidereal time. Sidereal or sidereal time means space time, which is broken down into 24 hours, or military time. Tropical time is the time as we define it based on the rising and setting of the sun and the planets, but also the rising and setting of a particular reference star. And that star is the pole star that we use. And that sets the tone for Earth time. Earth time is different than sidereal time. We have to convert sidereal time into tropical time. And we do that because remember, there's no reference points in space. So we have to choose a reference point in which to begin the calculation of time. And that is determined by a star that we choose. And that star is called the pole star. The pole star changes every 2,500 years. We had the pole star. Before that, we had Sirius as the pole star. Now, or the Polaris Major. So depending on the rotation of the dial, every 2,500 years, there is a different star associated with that period. In our current epoch, which is changing from Pisces to Aquarius, we reference the pole star or Alpha Polaris, and that's or the morning star, right? But it's really the pole star. People confuse the pole star with the morning star, which are quite different. Okay, Venus is the morning star, but it's not the pole star. Okay, and we use the pole star as a reference point to begin the calculation of Earth time versus sidereal time, and this is what we call tropical time. I talk about it in detail in my website, The People's Astrologer. Just read Sun Ascendant Combination. That's the heading. Okay. This is very, very complex calculations. This can break or make us an astrologer. If you don't know how to calculate this, you cannot be an astrologer. You cannot calculate a chart on your own head. You're going to need computers. And if there's no computers, there's Y2K, and computers break down, and there's no way to use computers to calculate a chart, then you need to go outside and look at the heavens and use your finger and mark the stars and calculate them that way. But you have to know a lot of math, and you have to know what you're doing. So, okay, so once you calculate the pole, once you make the conversion from sidereal time to tropical time, you are able to now plot the planets' positions as they fall on Earth. Because the sidereal time lets you know the positions and calculations and math and degrees of the planets in the heavens. But that means nothing because we're not living in space, or we're living on Earth. So we need to calculate how these stars and planets and points correlate to Earth time. So we have to do a conversion, a mathematical conversion, which deals with a series of mathematical equations and formulas. But once we get past that, Oops. Besaré tu boca. Yo nunca besaré tu boca. Now we're gonna go into from sidereal to tropical time. But let me get a sip. Mm. It just makes me so happy. Tropical music discussing the tropics. So, okay. Here, now we went from space time, where I show you the stars and constellations. Now we have converted from sidereal to tropical. And this is tropical time. Here at 6 a.m., at 6 a.m., the sun rises. Again, it rises. Rising sign, hint, 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 rising. Well, planets are not the only things that rise. Okay? So as the planet is moving in its rotation and its own axis and then rotating around the ecliptic of the sun, you have all kinds of things rising, culminating, and setting. Rising, culminating, and setting. Okay? So here you have the sun rising at 6 a.m. And then when it reaches 12 o'clock noontime, it's on the top of the earth or on top of the meridian. Right? And then from noontime, it descends to dusk, which is 7 p.m. So now you see the sun going down in the horizon until it finally disappears at midnight down here, which is Cancer, darkness. That's why Cancer is considered very dark, because no light shines underneath the nadir. And this is the seed of Cancer. Okay? So here you have the four cardinal points. Aries begins the morning and culminates at noon with Capricorn. And then the sun begins to descend or wane into Libra. And then it sets. Right? Where are we? It sets. Now the sun is underneath the earth. Midnight, dark. The sun is rising somewhere else. But for us, it's midnight. Okay? Now we've converted the sidereal into tropical time, which is our Earth times versus space time. So just like planets rise, like I just showed you, constellations rise and set and culminate. This is a whole different branch of astrology called um, uh, uh, constellations, versus the signs of the zodiac. We're talking about the constellations and the plotting of the constellations, the rising and culminating and setting of constellations. There's a great book written by Bernadette Brady. Bernadette Brady, a fantastic astrologer dealing with the constellations and the meaning of the constellations. See, I go into the planets and the signs of the zodiac, but if I was to do a birth chart about your particular stars and constellations, that would cost you. I would have to charge you at least $2,000 to $3,000 for that. It's extremely complicated, but it's a very valuable chart, just as much valuable as it is the regular horoscope chart that I do for $350. This deals with the constellations and the actual seat of origin, the link between you and the gods. But very rare do people order this type of chart. It's extremely expensive, a lot to calculate, but it's far more revealing than the regular birth chart of $350 that I do. So I very rarely mention it. This is basically for those who have a lot of money, for the wealthy or those in privileged positions where I do those kinds of charts for. Right? But this is the basis of where we get the knowledge from. You have two birth charts. The chart that deals with the planets, and then you have a birth chart that deals with the constellations, rising, culminating, and setting, and the mythology attributed to these constellations and how they relive these mythologies in your own personal life. the whole basis of Carlos Castaneda mythology and Carl Sagan. You know? So, but again, we don't discuss these because it's just too much. It's too much, and again, it's extremely expensive. So I don't even talk about it. This is not the proper audience for that. Okay, so now let's jump and let's discuss some more mathematical terms and terminology. Um, Here we have the Earth again. Here we have the Earth. The dotted line is the equator, right? And the arrows pointing a certain direction is the Earth's movement in a counterclockwise direction. The Earth moves in a counterclockwise direction. Now, you see this here. This is called the prime vertical or the prime meridian. It's a vertical pole. And then you have the equator. Another name for the equator is the horizon. You see that? So here you have the prime vertical, which is the long stick, right? This is it right here. Uh, the prime vertical. Or it's also called the meridian. And there you have the equator. Right here, you see that red dot? The intersection between the equator and the meridian marks the ascendant, the rising sign. It is here that the soul enters. When you're born, you enter through Capricorn. And the personality is that when you enter with the soul that enters up here in the north, because we all start here. This is the starting point, the MC. But the equator, which marks the rising sign, is the mask. Is the mask that you're born in. Okay, so this intersection between the prime vertical and the equator marks the horizon. When you see the sun rise, you're seeing it from here, and when it sets, you're seeing it from here. Okay, this intersection of the equator and the prime vertical or the meridian is what we call the arc point of Aries, and this is referencing a star that acts as a reference point to begin time on Earth versus sidereal time. And that is what we call tropical time. And that star that we reference is called Sirius. And the northern star is the pole star that we reference. Now, here we break down the equator into 12 different meridians, right? And notice that I got twos all the way up to 12. What does that mean? Well, as the world turns, no pun intended, as the world turns in this direction, I mean, in that direction, which is counterclockwise, every 2 hours, there's a sign rising and culminating and setting. So at 6 o'clock, Libra rises. At 8 o'clock, Scorpio rises. At 10 o'clock, Capricorn rises. At 12 o'clock noon, Sagittarius rises. At 2 o'clock, it's Sagittarius is at 10, Capricorn at 12, and at 2 o'clock Aquarius, and at 4 o'clock in the afternoon Pisces. And if you're on the other side of the earth, it is the opposite signs that are rising. If I was in Dubai on the other side of the planet at 7 o'clock in the morning, Capricorn was rising, but in the west Capricorn was setting and Cancer was rising in the west. You understand? So as the world turns, every 2 hours there's a sign, there's a rising sign, the ascendant, rising, culminating, and then setting. You got that? That's how you calculate the ascendant. It's completely mathematical. Okay? So we're done with the mathematics part. And we're done with part 2.